Happy New Year and welcome back to the series in which we create a live set from scratch and play at a festival in a year. Now this is the second part of a two-parter which we are doing with Failure Cap. In the first episode we looked at how to create some transitions using our newly acquired bit of kit alongside how to set up a project and lots of other really useful tips. So if you haven't watched that, please go and check that one out before you watch this video. In this we're going to be taking our newly written second track and trying to transition from one track to another.
I think the frustrating thing is that realistically you need to kind of predetermine which things are going to go well together. It sounds nice to go like, oh yeah, like I'm going to do this whole live thing and I'm going to be doing everything from scratch. And like some people can do that, but like everyone's different. And it's like some things really go well together and you might or you might not come across that if you are just completely improvising live. But like you can come across something in the studio where like, true, the outro of this track really sits well with one element from this next track, or you know, if you're trying to figure out what track to play next.
So let's go from, say, the outro of this first track here, the D section, which I know will just indefinitely loop, and just start messing around and seeing what we might be able to kind of put over, and then we'll go from there. So I've got stuff playing on my drum machine, so I'm kind of just going to be messing with the mutes when I'm playing live. Claps and stuff. Just looking for something that might go well over the top of all of this. I can assume that I'll probably pull the kick out, could just high pass it out, echo out the drums a bit, just to get an idea of what I want to strip back. Might just completely mute the kick. Now I can look for some stuff to put over the top. At the moment, we're really just looking for things that are going to make a smooth transition, and we can kind of stamp that to a new scene after this. Could work, but a bit clashy. Don't need that. See if we can use a synth part. Always going to be pretty safe to put vocals and stuff over the top. But we'll see if we can put a pad or something. Maybe really what we want to do is get rid of these synths and then just jam out the drums. Be a bit too much kind of harmonic information in those synth parts, so let's say we're just going to keep a rhythm towards the end. Bass is playing like one note, so pretty safe, one or two notes. Just reset all this. Mess around with the vocals, see if that works. So that's kind of fresh. Maybe what we can do is strip the bass back to just playing one note. So maybe what I'll do is I will capture this. I'll capture it and insert a scene. I'll put it back in the right spot though. Let's just rename this scene transition. Even a transition. Because maybe what would be wise is to just change up the bass line into the next track. We'll see if that works. But it could also be nice to put the pad in. Might be as easy as that. let's just duplicate that and see what we've got coming in the start here. Maybe we can bring that 101 in now. Still a bit clashy, except could be nice tension. So I'm just going to copy that back up because that kind of works. And then we might even be ready to just go into the next section. As simple as just swapping over the bass line and kind of taking out some of those elements where it's going to be a bit more clashy, and just give it a bit more room to breathe and suggest what's going to happen next. And then now we're into the next track. So let's go back and see if that works from the outro of the first track. And let's just dub it out and stuff. Mess with some decay tails. Go to the next scene. It's important to reset all your filters and stuff once you've cut an element out, otherwise you'll just wonder what's going on. Next scene. And if you let something like this just roll for a few minutes in a club and just mess with small stuff like decay tails, reverb, stuff like that, then it's just going to translate a lot better than when you're sitting at home in the studio. You've got to remember that an 8-bar drum loop at home is going to get pretty boring pretty quick, whereas at the club, if you're just on the dance floor, hanging out with friends, doing this and that, you're not really paying attention to whether something's been playing for 15 seconds. You kind of want it to roll for a few minutes. And just do little sculpting stuff is going to make a bigger impact on a big sound system. And just give people enough of an opportunity to kind of focus in on the smaller nuanced stuff that's happening. you could just repeat that process with other tracks. Just see kind of what works to overlap. You don't want to go too crazy with it because you don't want to give people too much to kind of focus on. Everybody's feeling like freaky, and they don't necessarily want to pay attention to some super complex kind of transitions and this and that.
I've been on holiday editing this video and I realised that I need a segue, and I couldn't think of a better place to film it than here in Iceland. So let's check back in with Fader Cap as he explains how he turns his live jams into stems.
If I'm fully just in the like start something from scratch phase, then the way I like to do it is, you know, build something in clip mode like that, maybe record a really basic just live, you know, clip launching version of that into the arrangement view, just so that it's like, cool, well, that 8-bar loop is now maybe a 32 or 64 bar loop with a little bit of things coming in and out or whatever. And then in arrangement view, just selecting that entire loop, consolidating that to a new scene, and then already got, you know, 64 bars with a little bit of movement already in there.
Brilliant. So with all of that, let's first take a dive into the new track that I've written.
Going to a lot of parties, having a lot of beautiful things, going to a lot of parties.
So following Fader Cap's demo, let's bring in our new track, which I've already split into 5 sections. If you're curious to why I've done this, then please check out the last video in this series, where we cover that and many other great tips. Fab. So now with everything in place, we can get into jamming out some combos to transition from the new track to our old track. So let's first play the outro loop of our first track and start demoing some new sounds alongside it, like the next kick pattern for example. To quickly create a new scene with any elements which are currently playing, we can go and hit capture and insert scene, making sure to rename it. I'm also thinking that the vocal in the track could be a nice way to help bridge the transition, so let's also bring that across. I'm also considering bringing the new atmospheric elements in earlier. They clash just a little bit with the bass, but not enough for me to be overly concerned, and I think they'll help mitigate any drop in energy by filling out some space in the mix. Let's then duplicate our transition and strip back the drums for a second section, allowing some space for a new groove to fill in at the start of the next track. Lovely stuff. Now time to test this out alongside the syntax, using the launch control to help smooth out the transition with some effects that we set out last episode. It's been an amazing start to 2024 already, and I feel like the live set is in a really good place. Now let me know in the comments down below if you think there's anything we can improve on or anything that you think we need to add to the live set. because hopefully by the end of 2024 we'll have accomplished our goal of creating a live set and playing at a festival in just 7 months. Well, I best get off now.
Going to